Hello there, I'm Black Bright News, and I wanted to talk about what was going on in the news with British Airways people claiming that they are taking extra money or steering people to so that they pay extra money for ESTA and other travel authorization requirements. And while some of the onus is on ourselves, I strongly believe that trusted websites like the airlines, like the banks, I don't think they should allow third party links on their website. I Especially when they're commercial. Because when you go on if you go on a website like British Airways, you automatically assume that any link within that website is a part of British Airways and has been approved by them. Even you do get these little warnings that pop up, but psychologically, you believe that when you click on a link on a trusted website, that any link that's on that website is going to divert you or redirect you to a trusted, non commercial website. And I have found a lot being a DJ that I am sent music, and if I'm not careful, they have links when they're sending that music to something totally unrelated to that track. And sometimes I find I'm being asked to buy certain products. So I have to go back a couple of steps and look where that track is. And it's a similar act of vigilance that you need to apply when you are buying something online from what you believe is a trusted website. And if you are directed to a third party website, pause and ask, why isn't this service being offered from this parent organisation? Why is it being diverted to a third party organisation? Anyway, lest I digress, I'm going to read from my notes. So I'll put on my goggles and we'll see how we go. The strongest criticism about what's going on is that many travellers assume that when they are on a website of a major airline such as British Airways, any travel document service being promoted is either official or close to official. If a customer sees a button saying check travel requirements or apply for travel documents and is then directed to a third party service charging extra, then many people would argue that the airline is benefiting from the confusion rather than informed choice, especially if you pay £51 for a US ESTA that costs $21, which is about £30 from an official government site, or £17 for an Australian e-visitor visa that is free through the official Australian government route. The concern becomes greater because elderly travellers may not realise alternatives exist. Infrequent travellers may assume the airline recommended route is a normal route. People already spending hundreds or thousands on flights may not notice an extra £20 or £30 fee. From that perspective, critics argue that the arrangement exploits lack of knowledge rather than providing real value. The argument British Airways and Sherpa would likely make is that there's another side. Sherpa is not claiming to be a government agency, it is a convenience service. Many people pay extra for convenience. Travel agents charge fees for visa assistance. Accountants charge fees to submit forms that people would complete themselves. Concierge services charge fees for booking things customers could book directly. And we can put that with the corner shop. You know, we have these corner shops and you pay an arm and a leg for stuff there. But if you're not driving and if your main supermarket is a few miles away, you're going to pay extra just for the convenience of having a corner shop. It's a similar principle. Sherpa's defence would probably be it helps people understand complex entry requirements, it reduces mistakes on applications, it provides customer support if travellers have questions. Customers choose whether or not to use it. In other words, what they say is that they're selling a service, not a visa. For me, the crucial issue is not whether Sherpa charges a fee. The question is whether travellers are clearly informed that, one, Sherpa is a commercial third-party provider. Two, The same permit can be obtained directly from the government for less money and in some cases free. 3, the airline may receive a share of the fee via commission. If all of that is presented prominently and clearly, then consumers can make an informed choice. If it is buried in the small print, while the airline's website funnels customers towards the paid option, the criticism becomes much stronger. What I would advise travellers whenever you need a US ESTA, an Australian e-visitor, a Canadian ETA or similar travel authorisation is always to check the official government website before paying any third-party service. Sometimes the third party adds genuine value. Quite often, however, you are paying an extra fee simply for someone to submit information that you could submit yourself in a few minutes. So my view is not a story about outright wrongdoing and more a story about transparency. The newspaper is highlighting a situation where a trusted airline appears to be steering customers towards a more expensive and profitable route. And many readers will reasonably ask whether that steering is sufficiently clear, transparent and fair. As a community and consumer advocate, that's exactly the sort of arrangement I would want scrutinised. Whether it crosses the line into exploitation depends largely on how prominently the alternatives and fees are disclosed to customers. One thing I've learnt over the years is that whenever a trusted brand introduces a helpful, in quotes, service, it's worth asking 2 simple questions. Is this the official route? What am I getting for the extra money? Sometimes you don't even know you've paid extra money until afterwards. Sometimes the answer is perfectly reasonable. For example, a visa agency may provide expert support for a complicated application, but if the service is simply filling the same online form that you could complete yourself in 10 minutes, the value of the proposition becomes much weaker. Many consumers place a high level of trust in airlines, banks, utility companies, and government adjacent organisations. They may not stop to investigate whether a recommended service is official or commercial. That's why transparency matters so much. In fairness, some travellers genuinely prefer paying extra for assistance, particularly if they are nervous about making mistakes or are travelling to several countries with different entry requirements. The issue is not that the services exist, it's whether customers are given enough information to genuinely make an informed choice. I think the healthiest approach is a balance of scepticism and fairness. Don't assume every referral arrangement is unethical or ethical. Don't assume a recommendation from a trusted company is the cheapest or best option either. Follow the money and ask who benefits from the arrangement. That habit serves people well far beyond travel permits. It applies equally to insurance add-ons, airport currency exchange, extended warranties, and many other products sold alongside something people already intended to buy. For me, there is a potential conflict between customer convenience and commercial incentives, which is why I decided to do this video. So I would suggest strongly that when you see a link, you're on any website, and you see a link, especially when it's a trusted website, and you see a link diverting you to another website, ask yourself why. Pause. Don't automatically click on that link, because if it was free or if it was included in their service, it would be within their website. You wouldn't need to be diverted to a third-party website. And that's regardless of what website you're on. When they're saying you will be diverted to a third-party website, stop. Ask yourself, why am I being diverted? Even check it out on Google. Where the diverted website, find out a bit about it. Find out whether or not it's commercial. Find out about their fees and whether once you've signed up, what commitment are you on? A lot of us are protected by online contracts within 14 days. So just make sure you don't do things blindly. Stop, pause, wait, and then go back. Do your little research and then go back and finish your transaction if you feel comfortable. And I hope that has proved useful. I hope you don't start blasting British Airways and Sherpa, because a lot of times it's our responsibility to do the research. And a lot of us are on automatic pilot when we need to be more conscious. And that's me, Black Bite News, over and out. You take care now. Bye-bye.